So, welcome to another episode of Inside Success, where we'll dive into the stories of aspiring leaders out there. In today's video, I'm happy to introduce you to Professor Victor Chang. Professor Victor Chang, it's a great honor to have you on this interview with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very honored to be interviewed.
Wonderful. Before we start diving into all the wonderful questions that we have for you here today, Professor Chang, would you mind walking our readers or audiences through your professional journey and introduce a bit about yourself and what you're doing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have about 26 years of experience. So I grew up in different countries, in Taiwan, Singapore, Australia, and the UK. In my last few years, since 2011, I worked as an academic. Then I became a full professor in 2019. I work in several countries as well. So I have been working at Aston as a professor of business analytics, dealing with applied AI and data analytics, teaching, research, projects, and collaboration. So I've been here for 4 years. Then I am also a very well-known researcher in the area of applied AI, data analytics, and Internet of Things and cybersecurity. I have founded 5 international conferences, more than 1,000 active members, and I'm a fellow of more than 12 learned societies. And I have won funding over £3 million as a PI, about £15 as a co-I or key member. And I have been making several well-known contributions and projects. I will be very happy to talk about them.
Yeah, yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much for the comprehensive introduction about your journey as well as the achievements that you have along the way. I'm pretty sure that our audience here would love to understand what's behind all the aspirations, inspirations that led you to where you are today, Professor Chang. So I'm curious, what first sparked your interest in using science to solve real-world human problems? Was there a defining moment in your career or leadership academic journey that revealed the potential of science or AI to you?
Okay, thank you. Good question. It comes a lot of self-motivation, and you need to have a clear goal. You need to set yourself targets, something small but achievable. Build up from smaller goals, and after that towards a big goal. And always it's useful to break a big problem into smaller targets so you can do this. And along the journey, I met several nice people, and I've been involved in different projects. They also have changed me in a way. I can talk about the journey that I come to today. At the beginning, I worked as the IT manager for UK National Health Service, NHS. Now I'm also managing hundreds of servers and also serving nearly 100 medical researchers. I learned a lot from them. I'm not just for the sake of working. So when I work, I take the positive attitude, being accountable and responsible. And I'm also learning the skill. It's not like our brain is a functional and working brain. I pick up different skills. The time it was about cloud computing. It was very normal now, but at the time it was very new. People began to put the data, all the stuff in the cloud. But then after that, when you have so much data, you need to understand what has been there. So you need data science to understand them, and then you then learn different domains. Like even though they are data, but then healthcare data, financial data, weather data, manufacturing data are a little bit different. So then you have to work with domain expertise. And after that, when you have so much data, and then after that you need computational method or machine learning method to understand more insight, deeper level of understanding, to understand what has been going on. And after that, then you need to apply AI. Is a bit different because you know a lot of machine learning methods or your own algorithms and your other computational methods, but you need to be able to address the problems that we are facing and to be able to demonstrate that you can resolve the problem. You can do that step by step, or you can do it project or case by case, or you can set certain target if that is agreed by your collaborators or stakeholders or funders, and then you see how you can resolve a problem. It's unlikely you can finish all of them in a time. So the journey comes along with your self-motivation and your willingness to work with people. They're also willing to give you the opportunity. And every opportunity, I take it very wholeheartedly. I prove myself. I'm also learning. I'm also bringing people to learn and improve. I have also mentored extensive number of people so that everybody learn, everybody improve, and that makes me today. Thank you.
Yes, wonderful. I love that story. I think every path of your journey is shaped by whether it's the foundation of your family or the people that you've met along the way. And it's very inspirational to hear that journey that you've been through, Professor Chang. So I'm curious, like, going back through your early stages of life or career, what kind of gaps did you observe in your early career that shaped your direction into AI and moreover data science?
Okay, I can see there are a lot of transformation. Every decade, at least there will be one or two major transformations. So when I was a student, nearly 30 years ago, at the time we listened and we just sort of like look at the lecture, you like do speed writing, and then it was not to be honest, not very helpful. It was more like absorbing the information and knowledge from lecture. You're not applying. And you are trained to be exam taker. Yeah, you do well in exam. And some of my former colleagues, they memorize. To be honest, it's not a good type of learning. And then the time, like I finished all my undergraduate in year 2000. So at the time, you could still get job easily. But then what interested me is I wanted to do research. I wanted to know what's been happening. There are so many challenging or interesting questions that I need to know. I need to find ways that also drive me into this. But then I can see there is a huge difference between you absorb the knowledge versus you understand. We call it critical thinking. You are like thinking, is that good for you? Is that not? And if that's good for you, how can you apply? Under what situation? And because we may learn at university or even throughout our life, from primary school all the way to university, maybe we have learned so much. But look at now, how much do we apply? Probably not. And then I also observe a lot of my former classmates, like they study, for instance, social science, and then they work in administrator, or maybe they got a degree in computer science and then end up in sales. So it's like what they have learned versus what they did at the end seem to be having nothing to do with it. Or some people are very interest driven. It's like seeing people like lawyer, and then because they like art so much, you want to draw cartoon, you know, it was like what you study versus what you end up living. Two different things, and especially in Asia, it's so common. I have so many colleagues and friends, but then in a Western country, because growing up in two sides of the world, it gives you the kind of brainstorming. It makes my brain to think, and not just to think. I need to act on that with a very high percentage of delivery. I notice that it allows me to be able to apply the knowledge, and I can see that now. Back to year 2000, we need to learn what is close to what industry want. We need to learn the kind of skill maybe that would be more applicable. That it's not like, I also remember we call it old day. Whatever you learn, and after a few months you forgot everything because you are trained to be an exam taker. That's not a good way of learning. You should learn something, you remember it, and you are going to apply it, and maybe you'll find a job for it. It's like this is on-demand training. Yeah, so we train you and teach you the things will be necessary. And then there's another thing. This is what in the syllabus. This is the thing we have to teach. But then in the assignment, I would then try to apply this in a real world scenario, or we introduce some placement or internship for students so they can apply the skill and knowledge in real life. And maybe we give them the advice, the kind of mentorship, so that they can like students have to learn and try themselves. This is kind of experiential learning, but we have to pull them back. It's like they can learn 5 out of 10, not entirely relevant to what the industry wants. So we have to sometimes pull them back. So I would say in these 26 years, there's a huge transformation. And being an educator, researcher, and a leader, I need to lead by example. I need to mentor them, and I need to make sure that all my students and all the people who work for me, they learn the things they need, and they can remember and use it for the rest of their life.
Yes, that's definitely makes sense. That turns me to the questions of AI ethics and responsibility. As you, Professor Chang, have spent so many years in the academia world and witnessing the transformation, like from the early adoption of AI to its, today. And my question is, as AI moves rapidly from research into real world development, there's an increasing concern around ethics and governance. So, from your perspective, Professor Chang, what does responsible AI actually look like in practice, especially in the academia world?
Okay, thank you. Recently, I'm very honored to have two recognition being recognized by Responsible Intelligence, also to do with my contribution with AI ethics. So, what my journey started also in 2010. Actually, I started as an IT manager in 2008, but because in 2010 I realized all the server, all the system had lots of data. And then the system manager can see everything. They can see the entire organization. It's strange. Sometimes you don't know what your colleagues are doing, but because you can see all the data, then you have more knowledge than the director because you know all the activity, you know all the data. So from 2010 onwards, I already know it's a very critical issue. If we know it, so do we keep it? Is there a practice? Is there a standard procedure, or is there a proper way of guidance? And you notice that every continent, every country treat differently. If you work in some country, the government say, I want it, I just want it. In some Asian country are like that. They just want it, they don't even ask your permission. And then in some country, it's oversensitive to spend months and months. So it's like it's too soft or too hard, also not good. So you need to find a middle ground that will be the best benefit for everybody. So for the legislation, they want a better protection. They want you to see step by step why you need to have access. And then for the user, sometimes you need them for some urgent purpose, but you may not need them most of the time. So you need to set different level of priority somehow request, and it can be more flexible approach. If you want to do a more formal one, maybe you have to tell them this is 6 months, this is what we're going to do. You want urgent one within a week, but you have to prepare everything. It's the same thing. Look at the visa application. Actually, there are some similarity from other real life example. If you want to apply for US visa, then you have to, I want to get a visa, like a golden visa, then you give them 1 million, and everything is easy. But then you want a long process, then you have to prepare everything. Your job offer or your university offer, and then how much money in your bank account, and then why you go to US, and how long, what is it for? You have to write a plan, and then you go to pass the interview. They think that you are not doing something illegal there, So it's the same thing. So we have to treat ethics like that very carefully. And I think we have to educate the people. So from 2010 onwards, I noticed that. But when it comes to teaching, I began to teach in 2014, 2015, but a bit light. But my formal teaching for AI ethics began in 2018. So there was a stage in my life I went in China, so almost 10 years ago. And then at that time I was a director of PhD and MRes, Master by Research Program. Then I also work for business analytics. So I also developed a new module completely for AI ethics. At the time we call it data ethics, but there are similarity. And then my last job at Tisa University in UK also taught AI ethics. But more on domain. I gave them the option in different domains. These are the issues, and you are going to have this kind of ethics. I let the student to choose, and let the student to understand, let the student learn and tell us. So now at Aston, I also let my student and all the collaborators know we have to follow each AI ethics. And how do we make sure doing that? So first, we can use some machine learning algorithm. So I also developed federated learning, in terms of strengthening privacy. So to ensure that only certain level of data and sensitivity issue can only be handled by certain techniques or certain people. Or I also set different levels of cybersecurity function, like access control, firewall, like how permission you can have, and then this kind of better security will be managed by only certain trusted board of members or certain people, and then we also review the process every 3 to 6 months to ensure that it's fair and transparent. So AI ethics itself is evolving, but then there is also a large language model. You can use the data, and the problem with service provider, they can probably take your data, take your commands with them, that they actually study what you do with the use of a large language model. But the way I'm also involved in another project, so the final outcomes will be more polished up. So I will be very happy to talk about them in the next few months or so.
Wonderful. I think that naturally brings us to federated learning, which you just mentioned, Professor Chang. So federated learning is often positioned as a solution to privacy challenges, and it is widely discussed as a privacy-preserving approach. So from your opinion, what are some of the real-world limitations that practitioners should be aware of?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Federated learning, just in short, it was a kind of a machine learning model. So it's like, in old days, you have to move the entire data to the cloud or to the service provider, and then they have to use your entire data. They have to have all the permission for entire data, and then they understand your data, and then they do the processing. But what federated learning does is that there are some parameters here, so that you only send a parameter. So it was, the best example is a kind of jigsaw, it was something here, something there. So maybe you only send some component, then do the fitting. You don't have to send the whole thing. You don't have to move all your data to the cloud. You only send certain part of the data or certain part of the parameter. But even so, it will not stop people or hackers to obtain the thing. So federated learning is one way. But then like all the access control, and also some privacy algorithm are also another solution. But then in terms of challenges, why federated learning? Because maybe we have to consider efficiency. If you consider too many security solutions, you notice that security versus convenient, they are on the contrary. Too secure is not very convenient. Too convenient is usually lack of security measures. So in smartphone, especially in 6G, so what happened was that you need it being fast enough, but you also need to make sure that it's private and secure enough. So latency is one of the issues, because the process that the data uploaded and then processed and then only sent back to the required information to you and then reprocess again, it needs time to understand, and in the loop, it may create more latency. Another thing is that the complexity of multiple users. In the lab environment, if you test about 10, even up to 100 users, maybe it's okay. But then in real world smartphone, we are talking about billions of users. And that will create a lot of challenges on traffic, on, maybe you may have to let go of certain privacy measures. It's the same thing like in a motorway, like all the traffic jam are there, And you want to speed up what people do is that they send a lot of police. They go, and then beep, beep, beep. And then another thing is that you have to divert the traffic. So it's like human intervention will be necessary, but then how? So there are also some other project doing 6G standards, or there are also project doing federated learning, advanced learning, like differential learning plus federated learning, or also some kind of federated learning plus. So they are dealing with different things. So for me, I'm also dealing with latency. I'm also dealing with like sometimes uploading and offloading. Sometimes you may not get 100% accuracy. You want to send somewhere in the other part of the world, so you have to do a lot of experiment. So there's still an ongoing process. I would think it will need about 5 to 10 years to resolve all the issues.
Yes. So speaking more broadly about federated learning, do you always think that we'll, as human being, always have to trade off privacy against performance, or is that something that we can eventually overcome?
Okay, thank you. In my latest algorithm, I use that as my name. I call it a FAVG, AVG Chang. So it was an improvement on existing algorithm. So that was focused more on accuracy, because I want all the messages are being uploaded and interpreted and then processed and sent back close to 100%. That's very hard. Even 97% is the best I can go. So you have to do different test cases in different environments. then accuracy is one of those. Privacy is one of those. But in order to test it, we need to have more users in real-time tests, because a lot of tests now, the difficulty is that if you involve with a lot of users, you tend to use computer simulation. So in computer simulation, you can simulate thousands of users that do this at the same time. But computer simulation is a kind of simulating what might be happening in real life, but there can be discrepancy. So what happened was that when we rely a lot on computer simulation, if we want to test in real life, we notice that there are a lot of problems we didn't expect, such as even setup, such as you want to, one of the common issues that you may set up 6G environment very well in your place, but then you want to move to another place, you want to replicate, and that's hard, replication is always not easy. It's right. Like your solution work here. And actually, it's not just federated learning 6G. I think a lot of IT project, AI project, it worked here very well. Move to another new environment, probably not. So you may have to reconfigure. There can be some parameter, or maybe one of the typical examples of power is like in some country lower voltage and the other one higher voltage, and you consume, because AI consume electricity a lot, and you are consuming it, demanding it too much, is like boom, like spending, and there are a lot of things you never thought of. It's like power control. You cannot let certain voltage to be high, and you have to have some intervention. And also some sectors tend to get more hacking. Like you work for financial sector, they probably get hacking every day. But then manufacturing, I'm not saying manufacturing is like they have less, commonly they still got hacking or unauthorized access, but not as much as like cybersecurity in finance and healthcare. So it's like every sector, the emphasis is different. So if I were in a situation, I think domain knowledge is very important, because you need to know the domain or the sector you're working, and you have to adapt it. Your security and privacy solution need to be adapted. For instance, manufacturing is more on robustness. They are demanding 100% reliable, robust, no faults. A fault is like you go machine learning and then holding may crash, and your food. Like they are doing a lot of food manufacturing, and next day is like gone. You may lose like $1 million in a day or something like that. So it's 100% accuracy. Yeah, no 99.9, no 100% accuracy.
Yeah,
and security need to be for that. Whereas for finance is more on identity. It's like you have to ensure it's the right person having the right access, right person having the right request.
Right.
Yeah, if it's not the right person, the whole thing collapse. So you have to make sure the person who requests, they will go to a financial system. You want to buy the store, put $1 million, and they have to make sure it's you. But before you do that, they have to check your identity. It's you, and maybe they send a text. You have to verify within 30 seconds. It's you, and then you have to pass 3 tests to do it. And there's definition of security. Every sector is different. So I would think working closely with the domain that you are working will be very crucial, and develop and improve, and everybody learn, and that's in a loop, that in a very positive ecosystem.
Right. I totally agree. And I think that's the gap from research to real impact. How can we, translate what's happening beyond the lab, so that when it moves into the real world, it can translate into instant impact. So on that note, Professor Chang, I love to understand your definition of impact. What tells you when something you're working on truly made a difference?
Okay, thank you. Yes, impact has been hugely emphasized in the UK and Europe. So impact means that we are involved in a project, we have some specific targets, or we work with certain communities or certain business partners or certain user groups. And impact means that we define what a problem was, and then we develop a methodology or some specific method can solve the problem. So the problem are being defined by research questions. So it can be 3 or 4 major research question, and then we develop work packages. So each work package will deal with at least one applied research question, and then after that we demonstrate what we have done, and then we also get users or the community involved. So you are not just solving a problem in your lab, or you are not solving a problem by publication, because now the concept has been more emphasized that your solution, your definition or working with others, you have to demonstrate you solve the problem. How? What? Or by what methods? And when can you finish? And then and have the kind of output that you say that there can be a big problem and you solve that problem A, B, C under a big problem B.
Right.
And then by how much? And you have to give quantitative evidence, because a lot of evidence, you need both actually. Quantitative evidence to support the strong cases and output you have developed, and qualitative evidence to have some key users to say good thing about what you've done. So I think having blending the community and selected domains, and then you offer your contribution and services to them, and in the way that you have collected your qualitative and quantitative evidence, in my definition, I would call that as an impact.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love your how you break down impact and what does it mean to you and what you're striving for too. So looking ahead, Professor Chang, as AI becomes more embedded in decision making, how should we think about the balance between human judgment and machine autonomy?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we cannot prevent people not to use AI. It was very different compared to like 3.5 years ago of when ChatGPT was widely used.
Yeah.
We now have to accept that. However, critical thinking is very important. Is that the human will make the final judgment.
Right.
So, for instance, in terms of writing, there are quite a lot of people just use AI and copy paste. It's probably not the best way, but you can paraphrase, rewrite it in your own words to say that you have been actually thinking through. That's one thing. Another thing is called we call it vibe coding, or some people call that context coding, or even harness coding. So it's a terminology. Like you talk to AI as if it's a human. You tell the AI your requirement to develop this software app by human language. No Python, no R, no Java, just probably English or your own mother tongue. You tell the AI, this is the software, this is requirement, and then you try the process. So we have to be able to teach people to be able to do this. So then down to the issue is actually about logic. I think people who have a stronger sense of logic, they know this, they probably don't need much training. So our education needs to be tailored the way that we have to know what each person is good at. Then let him or her to train the logic. So learning has to be very personalized and also very target on each group or each user's requirement. And in a way that we can show them, these will be very effective. So critical thinking will be very important, because the danger of relying AI to do all the decision for you. Back to 20 years ago, you made a decision, maybe your parents like, I want to find this boy girlfriend. But now you use AI. Is this person very good? Wow, very handsome, very pretty. This way must be my girlfriend. AI can provide an answer. You like, good. And after that, your relationship broke. And who to blame? AI. You have to be responsible for your own decision.
Right. Yeah.
Like job-wise, or like, which country to study? USA. Like a lot of people may go to Singapore. It's near, But now we use AI. Then what's happening is making our brain not actually functioning. So certain level you need to think and act on that. Yeah. So I hope those examples help.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very relevant. So let's bring this conversation to a close, Professor Chang. But before that, let's shift that towards you and what you aspire to become. So beyond the technology and the impact that you're doing on AI, what kind of impact on people's lives do you ultimately hope your work will contribute to?
Thank you. It's a big question. I hope I have enough time to answer. So first of all, it has changed everything. It is probably the fourth formal industrial revolution. There has been debated almost 10 years ago from the time called big data, and then after that, meta, the kind of metaverse, and then after that, different thing, Internet of Things, and then now AI actually materialized. This is definitely a fourth industrial revolution. It changed everything. It changed the way we learn. It changed the way we have consulted. So AI can be your personal assistant. AI can be your personal consultant. Even it can do a 24/7 type of task. You can assign the AI, and AI can do things that we have never thought of. So if I have not had the time to do music, then I can ask AI to compose a song for me and sing. And AI can help me to draw a nice diagram. AI can help me to make the animation. AI can make me the travel plan. So in a way that we have to embrace the AI. But the second thing on the education is the traditional way of education is it rely a lot on individual ability. In Asia culture, there are a lot of exams. Maybe they may have to be replaced by some other means, but there will be a long-term discussion. In a Western society, learning can be blended with AI. More than 25 years ago, I was involved in the kind of blended learning, but then AI may be at the center. However, we should not lose the skill of using your hand. When children learn, the craft, the kind of mathematics, writing, but now you use like computer. So without computer, without AI, is like what I said earlier, your brain was not functioning. That's not good. That's not the kind of education we would hope. In terms of impact on job, it makes people, you have to relearn the skill. You have to relearn the skill based on what you know and how AI can help you. Not just the knowledge, you have to apply, and you have to take the new skill, use it for your work. Not even a big thing, maybe from small extent, but we have to be fast enough. Because on the reverse side, you can notice a lot of companies that is happening throughout the world, started by USA. They have started redundancy. Why? Because more and more companies that believe AI can replace human to some extent. Like jobs that are repetitive. It's like you do that at the same time, and or maybe having some kind of office workers are quite vulnerable in a way. Some of our job may be replaced or partially replaced. So a lot of companies that want to save the kind of cost, they will have to do the redundancy. And this is not going to stop. This will last for some time, even like 20, 30 or even beyond. So it means that we got to learn and be prepared for that. Some company, they do redundancy because they want to save the money on AI, on buying equipment, building the data center, buying a lot of GPU, that kind of stuff. So we have to be ready for any challenges. Lifelong learning will be highly applicable to everyone. I would urge everybody, and if I have the opportunity, I will then develop the next generation course and also research for stakeholders, for funders, and for everybody I work with.
Yes, wonderful. Professor Chang, we've covered everything from the evolution of AI and its real-world challenges to leadership, ethics, and what's lies ahead. I think what really stands out from our conversation is that the importance of balancing innovation, AI, and responsibility. Thank you, Professor Chang. This has been such a thoughtful and insightful conversation. It's a pleasure to having you on this show today.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to you, and thank you so much for the interview. Thank you.
Wonderful. And to everyone listening, thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow and share. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, have a good day. Good.
Yep.